In an ancient Igbo kingdom, where twins are condemned, a secret birth threatens the throne. One twin is rescued from the evil forest. 25 years later, her royal destiny comes calling. Will she break the curse and claim her crown? Watch the full story to find out. Link in our bio. The sun rose slowly over the Igbo village, casting a golden glow on the thatched roofs and dirt paths winding through the community. The morning air was thick with anticipation. Inside the royal compound, tension gripped the midwives, their whispers barely audible above the queen's labored breathing. As the first cry of a newborn pierced the silence, a wave of relief swept through the compound. Moments later, another cry followed, and the relief turned to shock. The queen had given birth to twins. In Igbo tradition, twins were seen as an abomination, a curse that brought imbalance to the earth goddess's order. The midwives exchanged panicked glances. One of them stepped outside, her voice trembling as she announced the news. The revelation spread through the village like wildfire. By sundown, the elders had gathered in an emergency council, their faces somber. Sacred law dictated that the twins must be abandoned in the evil forest to restore harmony. Despite the queen's tearful pleas, the decree was carried out. Under the cover of darkness, the twins, Osinachi and Kaneo, were left in the forest to die. The next morning, Nkem, a skilled hunter, ventured into the forest, his gun slung over his shoulder and a quiver of spears at his back. The evil forest was a place he often avoided, but rumors of a rogue leopard in the area drove him deeper into its shadowy depths. As he crouched to inspect a trail, he paused, his keen ears catching the faint sound of a baby's cry. Nkem froze, every instinct urging him to retreat. But the cries persisted, tugging at his heart. With cautious steps, he followed the sound, his grip tightening on his gun. Hidden beneath a cluster of leaves, he found a tiny baby girl, her cries weak but persistent, and Nkem's mind raced. The sight of the child abandoned in the wilderness filled him with both anger and sorrow. He looked to the heavens, whispering, perhaps the gods spared her for a reason. Against every instinct of self-preservation, he wrapped the child in his hunting cloak and carried her home. He named her Osinachi, meaning God's gift, and raised her as his own daughter. Though he lived modestly, he showered her with love, teaching her the values of courage, survival, and compassion. Osinachi grew into a striking young woman, her intelligence and resilience earning her admiration from all who knew her. Yet, questions about her origin haunted her. Whenever she pressed Nkem, he would only say, "The gods brought you to me, and that is enough." Growing up, Osinachi's life was far from easy. Though Nkem's love never wavered, the whispers of villagers who questioned her origins were a constant reminder of her outsider status. Some called her a cursed child, others whispered that she was a spirit born of the forest. Nkem shielded her as best he could, his firm voice silencing the rumors whenever they reached his ears. But Osinachi was determined to prove herself. From a young age, she joined Nkem on his hunting trips, learning the ways of the forest. She became adept with a bow, her sharp eyes and steady hands earning Nkem's praise. She was fearless, navigating the dense underbrush with an ease that astonished even the most seasoned hunters in the village. At home, she worked tirelessly alongside Nkem, preparing the game he brought back and tending to their small compound. Though their meals were simple, the bond they shared made every moment precious. Nkem would often recount stories of the gods and ancestors by the fire, his deep voice weaving tales of bravery and wisdom. Osinachi listened intently, her admiration for him growing with every story. Yet, challenges continued to test her resolve. When drought struck the village, food became scarce, and tensions ran high.
Nkem's hunts became more dangerous as animals retreated deeper into the forest. Osinachi, determined to help, ventured out alone one fateful morning. She returned hours later with a small antelope, her face streaked with dirt and her eyes alight with pride. Nkem's embrace that evening spoke volumes, his pride in her unspoken, but deeply felt. Through every challenge, Osinachi and Nkem grew closer, their relationship more than that of father and daughter. Nkem was her protector, her teacher, and her confidant. And for Nkem, Osinachi was his reason to endure, his source of joy in a world that often felt harsh and unforgiving. But even as they shared laughter and triumphs, a quiet unease lingered in Nkem's heart. He knew the truth of Osinachi's origins, a truth he feared would one day shatter the life they had built together. 25 years later, the king lay frail on his deathbed. With no heir to succeed him, despair gripped the village. The king summoned the native doctor, who delivered a shocking prophecy. One of the twins abandoned in the evil forest was alive and must return to claim the throne. If the twin was not found, the royal lineage would end, and the village would descend into chaos. The king's guards set out immediately, travelling from village to village, searching for any clue about the lost twin. Their quest eventually led them to Nkem's village, where tales of a mysterious young woman with unmatched wisdom and bravery had reached their ears. When the guards laid eyes on Osinachi, they were struck by her regal bearing. They revealed her true identity, proclaiming that she was the king's daughter. The news left Osinachi reeling. That night, Nkem sat beside Osinachi, his weathered hands trembling. The next morning, as they bid Osinachi farewell, Nkem said tearfully, "My daughter," he began, his voice heavy with emotion, "I have kept the truth from you for too long." He recounted the fateful day he found her in the forest, his voice breaking as he described his decision to save her. Tears streamed down Osinachi's face as she grappled with the revelation. Though her heart ached, she understood her duty. "You are the only father I have ever known," she said, her voice resolute, "but if the gods have called me to this, I cannot refuse." Osinachi returned to the village of her birth, her arrival met with a mix of awe and suspicion. The king, now barely able to speak, mustered his remaining strength to embrace her. "You are my daughter," he declared, his voice filled with pride. "The gods have brought you back to us." The elders, initially resistant, were swayed by the native doctor's prophecy and Osinachi's natural leadership. She spoke to the villagers with a calm authority, her words inspiring hope and unity. After the king's death, Osinachi was crowned as the first female ruler of the village. Her reign was marked by profound changes. One of her first decrees was to abolish the taboo against twins, declaring it an outdated and unjust tradition. Her story became a powerful symbol of courage and destiny, a reminder that change was not only possible, but necessary for progress. Under her leadership, the village flourished, entering an era of justice and prosperity. Osinachi's bond with Nkem remained unbroken. Though she now ruled a kingdom, she often sought his counsel, honoring the man who had risked everything to save her. Just as peace seemed to have settled over the village, the native doctor came to Osinachi with urgent news. His voice trembled as he spoke. "The gods have sent another vision. There is more to your destiny than the throne. What I have seen will change the fate of this village forever." What new revelation awaits Osinachi? And how will it reshape the destiny of her people? Stay tuned for the next chapter of The Twin and the Throne. watching. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on post notifications.
Liberty. Liberty Mutual is all she talks about since we saved hundreds by bundling our home and auto insurance. Liberty.
Hey kid, it's pronounced Bibberty.
Liberty.
Bibberty.
Liberty.
Bibberty.
Liberty.
Bibberty.
Liberty.
Now she's mocking me. Very mature.
Hey, that's the nephew too.
Hey, I'm not the one acting like a total baby.
She's two.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
Liberty.
The kingdom of Nri had always been a land of peace, led by its wise and just queen, Osinachi. Her reign was marked by prosperity, harmony, and the deep trust of her people. But peace, as they say, is often a fragile illusion. Osinachi had believed her kingdom free from the shadows of the past. She had forgotten that the past had never truly left waiting like a storm on the horizon. The kingdom had long been divided over a prophecy that spoke of two heirs born of the same blood, destined for greatness, but also for destruction. Osinachi had embraced her destiny, rising as the queen the gods had chosen.
A village in the distant hills had discovered him, a man who had lived in obscurity, but whose lineage had been hidden for years.
He had grown up under a different name, far from the royal courts and the gods' will, but that didn't matter. The moment he learned of his true heritage, a fire burned in him, a fire that demanded he claim what was his. Kaneo, now a man hardened by years of rejection, appeared before the royal court with a force that took everyone by surprise. His eyes were fierce, his voice cold with fury. He strode to the center of the palace, his presence like a storm. "This throne," he declared, his words like iron, "is not Osinachi's to claim. It was never meant for her. The gods have forsaken this kingdom, and they have forsaken me. But I have returned to take what is rightfully mine." The room fell silent, the chiefs shifting uncomfortably. The tension was palpable. Osinachi's heart raced. She had not expected this challenge, but she knew the truth: her brother's return had been inevitable. But Kaneo's challenge was not just political, it was deeply personal. The years of absence had festered resentment, and the moment he laid eyes on Osinachi, a spark of something darker took hold in him. He was not merely seeking a throne, he was seeking revenge. The loss of his birthright had scarred him in ways Osinachi could never understand. "Do you think the kingdom will accept you?" Osinachi asked, her voice strong but heavy with sorrow. "You've spent your life in exile. The people will never follow you." Kaneo's lips curled into a bitter smile. "I will make them follow me." The kingdom was on the brink of civil war. Kaneo's challenge was more than a claim to the throne. It was an attack on everything Osinachi had fought to build. But not everyone in the kingdom was loyal to her. Rumors began to swirl that some of the chiefs were already turning against her, quietly supporting Kaneo in secret. The whispers of betrayal grew louder. Among the most vocal of the dissenters was Chief Obina, a man known for his ambitions and his distaste for Osinachi's rule. He had long believed that a man should sit upon the throne, and now, with Kaneo's return, he saw an opportunity to claim power for himself. Obina met with other chiefs in the dead of night, their faces hidden from the light. Their plots were simple but dangerous. If they could convince the people that Osinachi was an illegitimate ruler, they could crown Kaneo as king. The kingdom's stability was no longer a certainty. A civil war was imminent, and Osinachi's reign was in peril. But Osinachi was not blind to the growing unrest. She had long been aware of the murmurs behind her back. Her leadership had been a point of contention for many, especially among the traditionalists who believed that a woman's place was not on the throne. The return of her brother had given them a rallying cry for rebellion. Meaning, whilst farming, if one encounters What is bigger than the farm? One sells the barn. Explanation. One who incurs what is beyond one's ability. He'd have to look for a solution from a source of greater capability than himself. In a quiet corner of the palace, Osinachi sought counsel from her most trusted advisor, Nkem. His wisdom had guided her since her early days as queen, and she needed him now more than ever.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and video downloads, so you can watch cooking shows as you eat airplane food. Try 1 month free.
Father, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. The chiefs, they are turning against me. They are backing Kaneo. What should I do? Nkem's face darkened.
The kingdom is being torn apart, my daughter, but do not forget what you have learned. Power is not merely in the throne, it is in the hearts of the people. If you can prove to them
that your heart beats for them, you will rise above all the plots of traitors. But what of Kaneo? Osinachi asked, her voice quivering. Can I save him from this path of destruction? You cannot save a man who does not wish to be saved, Nkem replied. But you can give him the chance. If he refuses, then you must do what is necessary. Osinachi's heart was heavy. She did not want to fight her brother. She did not want to tear the kingdom apart. But if the kingdom demanded it, if the people could not be swayed, then she would have no choice but to defend her rule with all her strength. The tension reached a boiling point when a messenger arrived at the palace with news of a secret meeting between Chief Obina and Kaneo. The plot was far worse than Osinachi had feared. The two were conspiring to use the power of the chiefs to depose her and seize control of the kingdom. Their plan was simple: kill Osinachi and declare Kaneo the rightful king. Osinachi felt a chill settle in her bones as the messenger spoke. She knew that time was running out. The conspiracy had grown too dangerous, too swift for her to ignore. She had to act before it was too late. Osinachi called for a meeting with the most loyal chiefs who had stood by her side, those who still believed in the unity of the kingdom. Together, they devised a counterplan. It was a risk, but it was the only way. Osinachi would publicly confront Kaneo, laying bare the conspiracy and exposing the treachery of those who would seek to destroy her. But as the night of the confrontation drew closer, Osinachi felt a deep unease in her heart. She could not help but wonder, what if Kaneo was only a pawn in a larger game? What if the true enemy was not her brother, but those who had manipulated him for their own gain? It was time for Osinachi to face her kingdom. With her father's words in her heart, she summoned a gathering of all the people, chiefs, warriors, and villagers alike under the great Iroko tree. The air was thick with anticipation, and the people murmured with unease. This was a kingdom on the edge, and what happened here today would determine its fate. Osinachi stood tall before the crowd, her regal presence commanding attention. Her eyes scanned the sea of faces, some hopeful, others skeptical, but all waiting for her to speak. She knew the stakes. She could not afford to fail. My people, she began, her voice strong and clear. I stand before you not as a queen born of tradition, but as one who has fought for this kingdom and its future. I know the path has been hard, and I know some of you doubt me. But we must ask ourselves, what is a king and what is a queen? Is it power alone that makes a ruler, or is it the heart with which they lead? Her words resonated with the crowd. She spoke of unity, of healing, of the kingdom's future. And then, turning to Kaneo, she said, My brother, I know you've suffered. I know you've been wronged, but this kingdom can't afford more pain. We do not need a king who seeks to destroy. It is time for us to heal. Kaneo stood silent for a long moment, his eyes locked on hers. The fury in his heart simmered, but for the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Was his anger truly the path to healing? Could he abandon his thirst for revenge? Days passed, and the kingdom remained tense. Kaneo wrestled with his emotions. Could he trust his sister? Or was she simply playing a game for the throne? The chiefs who had rallied behind him whispered promises of power, but Asinichi's words had lodged deep within him. Meanwhile, Osinachi continued to lead with grace, working tirelessly to unite the kingdom. She brought the chiefs together, negotiated peace between rival factions, and sought to heal the wounds that had festered for so long. Her leadership began to win the hearts of the people, and slowly, the support for Kaneo began to wane. One fateful night, as Osinachi stood alone by the river, her thoughts turned to the kingdom's future. She was joined by Nkem, who had come to offer his final counsel. "You have done well, my daughter," he said, his voice filled with pride. "But remember, there are no easy victories in matters of the heart. Kaneo's anger is a poison that must be purged, not merely ignored." Osinachi nodded, understanding the weight of her father's words. "I know, and I will do whatever it takes to save him and this kingdom." The time had come for the final confrontation. In the heart of the kingdom, under the ancient Iroko tree, Osinachi and Kaneo met one last time. The chiefs gathered around them, the air thick with anticipation. "My brother," Osinachi said, her voice soft but firm, "this is the moment we must decide the future of our people. The gods have chosen me, but I offer you a place by my side. Together, we can rebuild this kingdom, but it must be with peace, not war." Kaneo's gaze was fierce, but his resolve began to falter. The anger that had consumed him for so long wavered as he looked into his sister's eyes. And for the first time, he saw her not as a rival, but as the leader she had always been. With a heavy heart, Kaneo stepped aside. The people cheered as Asinichi's reign was solidified, and the chiefs who had plotted against her were brought to justice. Asinichi's rule ushered in a new era of prosperity and peace. Kaneo, once her rival, became her closest advisor, and together they led the kingdom into a future of unity and justice. The people flourished, and the kingdom that had once been divided was now stronger than ever. And as Nkem looked upon the legacy his daughter had built, he knew the gods had chosen wisely. The tale of Osinachi and Kaneo would be passed down for generations, a story of resilience, redemption, and the power of family. Thank you for watching. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on post notifications.
One fateful evening, Femi discovered her hidden stash while searching for a missing tool. Among the scraps was a half-finished model of a water pump she had been designing. His face darkened with anger. "Adesowa," he bellowed, calling her into the room. "What is the meaning of this? Have you no respect for the rules of this house?" Adesowa stood trembling but refused to lie. Watch the full video on our channel, link in bio.
You are using apple cider vinegar the wrong way. If your goal is to lose belly fat, you need to use it the right way. Guys, I discovered a way to turn apple cider vinegar into something even more powerful than those Manjaro pens. Seriously, when you take it the right way, it shrinks your belly, reduces inflammation, boosts your metabolism, curbs hunger, and even improves your
In the quiet village of Ife, nestled in the rolling hills of western Nigeria, the sun rose each day over a community steeped in tradition. The villagers prided themselves on their adherence to customs, with clearly defined roles for men and women. Men were farmers, craftsmen, and occasionally teachers. Women were caregivers, traders, and nurturers. Engineering, like many other trades, was considered an impossible path for a woman. Yet, amidst this rigid structure was a young girl named Adesowa, whose curiosity and determination would reshape her village's narrative. Adesowa was born into a family of farmers. Her father, Femi, was a stern but loving man who upheld the traditions of their ancestors. Her mother, Kemi, was gentle, yet silently bore the weight of societal constraints. From a young age, Adesuwa displayed an unusual fascination with machines and tools. While other children played by the river, Adesuwa could be found tinkering with her father's broken plow or watching intently as the village blacksmith worked. One day, while helping her father in the fields, Adesuwa noticed a problem with the irrigation channels. "Dad, what if we adjusted the angle of the waterway to make the flow faster?" she asked tentatively. Femi chuckled. "My child, leave such matters to the men. Go and help your mother in the kitchen." But Adesuwa's mind was already racing with ideas. Her love for machines deepened when she stumbled upon a worn-out mechanical toy her uncle had brought back from Lagos years ago. It no longer worked, but Adesuwa spent weeks taking it apart and putting it back together until it whirred to life again. The sense of accomplishment was exhilarating. She began collecting scraps of metal, old gears, and broken tools, hiding them in a corner of her room to work on small projects in secret. One fateful evening, Femi discovered her hidden stash while searching for a missing tool. Among the scraps was a half-finished model of a water pump she had been designing. His face darkened with anger. "Adesuwa," he bellowed, calling her into the room. "What is the meaning of this? Have you no respect for the rules of this house?" Adesuwa stood trembling but refused to lie. "Dad, I only wanted to make something useful for the village," she said softly. "Useful. Useful." Femi's voice thundered. "A woman's place is not with machines. You disgrace this family with your disobedience." He turned to Kemi, his face a storm of fury. "You have spoiled her with your indulgence. Both of you, leave this house if you cannot abide by my rules." Adesuwa's heart broke as she saw the tears in her mother's eyes. They packed a few belongings and went to stay with Kemi's sister in a nearby village. Adesuwa's guilt was heavy, but her mother's quiet words gave her strength. "Never let anyone make you feel ashamed for dreaming, my child. Your path is different, and that is why it is so difficult." Life at her aunt's house was not easy, but it allowed Adesuwa the freedom to explore her interests. Her uncle, a trader who often traveled to cities, noticed her knack for fixing broken items and began bringing her small tools and parts. One day, he handed her a damaged lantern. "If you can fix this, I know you're serious about this engineering business," he said with a playful grin. Adesuwa took it as a challenge, spending nights under the dim glow of another lantern until she succeeded. Her uncle was impressed and began to support her efforts more openly. Despite the distance from her father, Adesuwa's love for her family remained strong. She wrote letters to her younger siblings, often slipping in sketches of her ideas and designs.
When I started drinking warm water to help me lose weight, my friends laughed at me. But when they saw how fast I was changing, they started doing it themselves. Apparently, thousands of women are already doing this every night as they sleep, by adding one unusual ingredient to a glass of warm water before bed. You've probably heard that as you get older, your body will never be the same. You'll have to accept it's harder to lose the extra pounds around your waist, the shapeless baggy clothes and unflattering photos, and the aches and pains and tiredness all the time. But what if I told you that's not true at all? What if I told you that there's a simple drink you can make at home that can help lose weight in weeks without starving yourself or spending hours at the gym? Sounds too good to be true, right? That's what I thought too, until I saw my auntie at a family party. I didn't even recognize her at first until she came over to say hi. It was crazy. She was literally half the size from when I'd last seen her. I asked her what her secret was, and she told me about this bedtime brew that she'd seen on TV. She said it was a simple drink that she made every night using ingredients that she found at her local grocery store. She said it apparently cleared some sort of blockage that had built up and stopped her body from burning fat like it should. She said it was easy to do, and it only took 10 seconds each day. She said she lost a load of weight in the first few weeks and kept it off.
Her father, however, never responded. The silence from him was a constant ache, but it fueled her resolve to prove herself. Her curiosity extended beyond machines. Adesowa became fascinated with the science behind them. She begged her aunt to let her attend the village school, where she quickly excelled in mathematics and science. One of her teachers, Mr. Ido, noticed her potential and began challenging her with advanced problems. "You're brighter than many of the boys here," he said one day, handing her a book on basic mechanics. "Keep this. It's not often I meet someone with such a thirst for knowledge." But not everyone was supportive. The villagers often whispered about her odd behavior. "Why can't she just be like other girls?" they murmured. "No man will marry her if she keeps playing with tools." Adesowa heard the whispers but refused to let them deter her. One day, she thought, "I will show them that a woman can do anything a man can do." Unbeknownst to Adesowa and her family, an ancient prophecy existed in Ife, passed down through generations of village elders. It spoke of a child born under the new moon of the harvest season who would bring great change to the village. This child would possess the power to bend metal to their will and breathe life into lifeless objects. The elders had long assumed this prophecy referred to a male child, but as Adesowa's talents began to emerge, whispers of doubt began to circulate among the more observant villagers. As Adesowa grew, her passion for engineering only deepened. She would draw diagrams in the dirt, imagining how machines worked. Her ambitions, however, were met with increasing resistance. The village elders, custodians of tradition, were unyielding. "A woman's hands are meant for the home, not for machines," declared Chief Remy, shaking his head disapprovingly. Even her peers mocked her. Adesowa the engineer, they teased. "Who will marry a girl who plays with tools?" These words stung, but they could not extinguish her dreams. One day, while exploring the outskirts of the village, Adesowa stumbled upon a small, intricately carved wooden box buried beneath an ancient baobab tree. Inside, she found a strange, metallic object that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The artifact, unknown to Adesowa, was a relic from an advanced civilization that had once inhabited the land thousands of years ago. As she held it, she felt a surge of knowledge and understanding through her, as if the object itself was imparting its secrets to her. Adesowa's determination found an ally in Mr. Ajayi, a progressive teacher who had returned to the village after studying in Lagos. Noticing her interest in mechanics, he began secretly lending her books and teaching her the basics of physics and mathematics after school. "Knowledge is power, Adesowa," he told her. "Don't let anyone take that away from you." Her uncle also played a pivotal role. He was a traveling trader who brought back stories of cities where women worked as doctors, lawyers, and even engineers. "The world is bigger than Ife," he said one evening, handing her a small wrench he'd purchased in Ibadan. "Use this to build your future." Rumors spread of a wise woman who lived deep in the forest surrounding Ife. She was said to possess knowledge that bridged the gap between the old ways and the new. Driven by her thirst for knowledge, Adesowa ventured into the forest to seek out this wise woman. The wise woman recognized the ancient artifact Adesowa carried and revealed its true nature, a key to unlocking the forgotten knowledge of their ancestors. Adesowa's nights were spent by lantern light, reading the books Mr. Ajayi had given her. During the day, she would quietly observe the village's few machines, water pumps, grinding mills, and the occasional motorbike, trying to understand their inner workings. When the village's grinding mill broke down, she begged the owner to let her try to fix it. Though reluctant, he agreed. With the wrench her uncle had given her and hours of trial and error, Adesowa succeeded. The mill roared back to life, earning her both awe and disdain from the villagers. Inspired by her success and armed with the knowledge from the artifact and the wise woman's teachings, Adesowa created a secret workshop deep in the forest. Here, she combined the ancient wisdom with modern engineering principles, creating inventions that seemed almost magical to those who witnessed them. Word of her creations began to spread, attracting curious onlookers from neighboring villages. The turning point came during a particularly harsh rainy season. The main bridge connecting Ife
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, 100.
The wise woman recognized the ancient artifact Adesowa carried and revealed its true nature, a key to unlocking the forgotten knowledge of their ancestors. Adesowa's nights were spent by lantern light, reading the books Mr. Ajayi had given her. During the day, she would quietly observe the village's few machines, water pumps, grinding mills, and the occasional motorbike, trying to understand their inner workings. When the village's grinding mill broke down, she begged the owner to let her try to fix it. Though reluctant, he agreed. With the wrench her uncle had given her and hours of trial and error, Adesowa succeeded. The mill roared back to life, earning her both awe and disdain from the villagers. Inspired by her success and armed with the knowledge from the artifact and the wise woman's teachings, Adesowa created a secret workshop deep in the forest. Here, she combined the ancient wisdom with modern engineering principles, creating inventions that seemed almost magical to those who witnessed them. Word of her creations began to spread, attracting curious onlookers from neighboring villages. The turning point came during a particularly harsh rainy season. The main bridge connecting Ife to the neighboring village was washed away by floodwaters, leaving the community isolated. The elders were at a loss, as the only engineer they could contact was miles away and unreachable. Adesowa saw an opportunity. Gathering scraps of wood, metal, and rope, she proposed a temporary solution. "You want us to trust a girl to rebuild the bridge?" Chief Remy scoffed. But desperate times called for desperate measures, and Adesowa was given a chance. With the help of a few young men, she constructed a makeshift bridge that held firm until professional repairs could be made. The village erupted in applause as the first travelers crossed safely. Adesowa had proven herself. Using her newfound knowledge and the power of the artifact, Adesowa didn't just build an ordinary bridge. She created a structure that seemed to glow with an inner light, its supports intertwining like living vines. The bridge not only withstood the raging waters but also purified the river as it passed through, bringing unexpected fertility to the surrounding farmlands. This miraculous creation forced even the most skeptical villagers to reconsider their views on Adesowa's abilities. Adesowa's success forced the village to reconsider its stance on gender roles. Young girls began approaching her with questions about machines, and even the elders started seeking her advice on technical matters. Mr. Ajayi proposed starting a small technical workshop for both boys and girls, with Adesowa as an instructor. The idea was revolutionary, but it gained traction. Adesowa's story spread to neighboring villages, inspiring other young women to pursue their dreams. She eventually earned a scholarship to study engineering in Lagos, returning to Ife years later as a certified engineer. By then, the village's attitudes had shifted. Women were no longer confined to traditional roles, and Adesowa's name became synonymous with change. Upon her return, Adesowa established the School of Ancient and Modern Wisdom, a place where traditional knowledge and modern science were taught side by side. The school attracted students from all over Africa, eager to learn the unique blend of technologies that Adesowa had pioneered. The village of Ife transformed into a center of innovation, where age-old traditions and cutting-edge technology coexisted in harmony. Adesowa's journey demonstrated that traditions, while valuable, should not stifle progress. Her resilience and courage challenged the notion that certain paths were closed to women, opening doors for future generations. As the villagers often said in admiration, Adesowa built more than bridges, she built a new future for us all. And so, in the heart of Western Nigeria, where the hills once echoed with laughter and doubt, they now rang with the sound of hope and opportunity, thanks to the girl who dared to dream. As years passed, Adesowa became known as the dreamweaver, a title that spoke to her ability to turn imagination into reality. Her inventions, powered by the mysterious artifact and her own ingenuity, helped solve many of the challenges facing not just Ife, but communities across Nigeria. From water purification systems that worked like magic to farming tools that seemed to have a mind of their own, Adesowa's creations blurred the line between science and the supernatural. And so, in the heart of Western Nigeria, where the hills once echoed with laughter and doubt, they now rang with the sound of hope and opportunity, thanks to the girl who dared to dream. Adesowa's tale became a legend, inspiring generations to come, reminding them that with determination, knowledge, and a touch of magic, anything is possible. The story of Adesowa, the girl who changed a village and inspired a nation, continues to be told around fires and in classrooms, a testament to the power of dreams and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to challenge the status quo. Moral of the story. The story of Adesowa offers a powerful lesson about the importance of perseverance, breaking societal norms, and embracing the courage to dream beyond imposed limitations. At its core, it demonstrates how determination, resilience, and a thirst for knowledge can overcome even the most entrenched barriers. Adesowa grew up in a community where tradition dictated every aspect of life, particularly for women. Her journey reflects the reality faced by many who dare to challenge the status quo. Despite societal expectations, ridicule from her peers, and rejection from her own father, Adesowa remained steadfast in her passion for engineering. This unwavering commitment teaches us that pursuing one's dreams often requires courage to defy conventional thinking and endure challenges that may feel insurmountable. The story also emphasizes the transformative power of support and mentorship.
If you stop driving at night because of vision problems, try this simple ice hack with water before bed and watch your vision go from this to this. I know this sounds weird, but this ice hack could be the solution to blurred vision, glaucoma, retinal detachment, cataracts, diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, and more. Here's why it works. Every human has around 106 million cells in.
Figures like Mr. Ajayi, Uncle Kola, and the wise woman highlight how the encouragement of just a few individuals can have a profound impact on someone's life. They remind us that fostering talent and providing opportunities to those with potential, regardless of societal labels, can help unleash greatness. It also calls on communities to recognize the importance of nurturing talents across gender lines, as innovation and progress benefit everyone. Adesowa's ability to channel adversity into action reveals a timeless truth: obstacles are not barriers but opportunities for growth. Her rejection by her father and the whispers of the village could have stifled her ambitions. Instead, these challenges fueled her resolve to prove that women could achieve just as much, if not more, than their male counterparts. The story encourages readers to see setbacks not as failures but as stepping stones toward greater achievements. The inclusion of the ancient prophecy and artifact underscores the lesson that wisdom comes in many forms. While tradition holds value, progress often lies in blending the old with the new. Adesowa's ability to integrate ancient knowledge with modern science creates solutions that elevate her entire community. This reminds us that innovation is not about erasing the past but building on it to create a better future. On a broader scale, the story speaks to the societal transformation that can occur when individuals challenge harmful norms. Adesowa's achievements inspire her village to rethink gender roles, proving that progress for one can lead to progress for all. Her work paves the way for other girls to dream big and equips the village with a vision of a future where tradition and innovation coexist harmoniously. The moral of Adesowa's story is clear: true change begins with daring to dream and persists through the courage to act. It calls on individuals to challenge restrictive traditions, seek knowledge relentlessly, and support one another in their aspirations. It reminds communities of the profound benefits of inclusivity and the power of nurturing potential, regardless of gender or background. Adesowa's legacy teaches us that when we embrace determination, resilience, and collaboration, we can inspire generations and create a future filled with hope and possibility. Thank you for watching. Please support our channel by liking, subscribing, turning on post notifications, and commenting with your thoughts on this video. Ancient Kingdom of Benin, a land where magic and reality intertwined, there lived a king unlike any other. From the day of his coronation, it became evident that this young ruler possessed a gift of extraordinary magnitude: the ability to communicate with animals. His gift set him apart, a divine connection whispered to the people by the village seers. As the king strode through the palace gardens, leopards prowled silently by his side, birds fluttered onto his shoulders, and even the smallest creatures seemed to gather, eager to share their secrets. The king's unique talent brought an era of unparalleled prosperity to the kingdom of Benin. With his ability to speak with the birds of the sky, he forecasted the weather, helping farmers anticipate rains and protect their crops. The whispers of the forest creatures guided hunters to areas teeming with game while ensuring that the delicate balance of nature was preserved. The king's wisdom extended beyond the fields and forests. He mediated conflicts, built alliances, and inspired trust among his subjects. Under his reign, the kingdom flourished like never before. The people celebrated his leadership, marveling at the harmony he cultivated between humans and nature. The origins of the king's gift were shrouded in mystery, but the elders spoke of a prophecy long foretold. Before his birth, his mother, Queen Ifosa, had wandered deep into the sacred groves where the goddess of fertility and wisdom dwells. There, she encountered a shimmering golden serpent with eyes like the sun. The serpent, a messenger of the gods, whispered to her that her unborn child would be blessed with an extraordinary gift, the ability to commune with the creatures of the earth. However, this gift would come with a responsibility. He was to rule with kindness and never use his power for selfish gain. Should he betray this sacred duty, his gift would be taken away. When the king was born, a leopard prowled near the palace, a sign that the gods had bestowed him with their favor. As he grew, he discovered his ability gradually, first understanding the chirps of the birds, then the growls of the beasts, until finally, he could communicate with all living creatures. His gift was not merely one of speech but of understanding. He could sense the emotions of animals, feel their fears, joys, and instincts as if they were his own. Yet, as in every great tale, not all in the kingdom rejoiced in the king's success. Among his council of advisers was a man named Chief Ago, whose heart burned with envy and skepticism. Consumed by the belief that the king's abilities were nothing more than an elaborate charade, Ago sought to unravel the mystery and expose the ruler as a fraud. His jealousy grew unchecked until it festered into a dangerous plan. If he truly speaks with animals, Ago muttered to himself, let him prove it before the kingdom. With a cunning grin, the advisor hatched a scheme to publicly challenge the king, certain that he could force a revelation that would strip away the ruler's mystique and power. On the day of the royal council's gathering, Ago stepped forward, bowing deeply but insincerely. Your Majesty, he began, his voice oozing with feigned respect, word of your remarkable gift has reached every corner of the land. But, as with all extraordinary claims, there are those who doubt. He placed a hand on his chest, an exaggerated display of humility. Would you humor us, your loyal subjects, with a demonstration? The king, a wise and patient man, studied Ago carefully. He had sensed the advisor's bitterness for some time but had never confronted him. He saw the challenge for what it was, a trap. Yet, he also understood that refusing would only stoke the flames of suspicion. I do not perform tricks for amusement, the king replied calmly. But I shall honor your request if it eases the minds of the people. A murmur spread through the court. Ago had not expected the king to agree so readily, but he quickly regained his composure. Then let us make it interesting, he said with a sly smile. A test. One of intellect and truth. The king nodded. Very well. What do you propose? That evening, Ago set the first challenge. In the great hall, before nobles and commoners alike, he brought forth a birdcage containing a nightingale. If you speak with animals, Ago declared, then tell us what this bird whispers. The king approached the cage gently, locking eyes with the small creature inside. The nightingale fluffed its feathers, chirping softly. After a moment of silent communion, the king turned to the audience. She sings of sorrow, he said. She was taken from the wild, from her nest and kin. She longs for the open sky and the comfort of the trees. The crowd murmured, impressed by the response. Yet, Ago laughed, slow and mocking. A convenient guess. How easy it is to claim that a caged bird wishes to be free. The king, unshaken, opened the door to the cage. To everyone's astonishment, the nightingale flew not away but landed upon the king's shoulder, trilling a melody of gratitude. The people gasped. Ago clenched his fists. This was no mere trick. But he refused to be bested so easily. The next day, Ago presented another challenge. This time, he led forth a stable boy and his old, loyal horse. If the king understands animals, Ago said, then let him tell us what this horse has to say. The king stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on the steed's muzzle. The horse snorted, flicking its ears, its large dark eyes reflecting years of toil. After a moment, the king turned to the stable boy. Your horse says he loves you like a brother. He has carried you since you were a child, through sun and storm, and would carry you until his last breath. The stable boy's eyes filled with tears, and he embraced his horse. It's true, he whispered. I owe him everything. The crowd erupted into cheers. Yet Ago was undeterred. That night, the jealous advisor met with a group of conspirators, men who also feared the king's growing power. We must end this deception, Ago whispered, pacing. If the king is truly speaking with animals, then he is more powerful than any of us imagined. But if he is a fraud, we will expose him and seize control. One of the conspirators, a merchant, frowned. But how? He has passed every test. Ago smirked. We shall give him a test he cannot pass. The day of the great challenge dawned bright and filled with tension. The palace courtyard brimmed with anticipation as villagers, nobles, and courtiers gathered to witness the spectacle. Ago stood at the forefront, his smirk barely concealed, as cages filled with creatures from across the kingdom were brought forth. Lions, parrots, monkeys, and even tiny insects were displayed in an impressive array. The air buzzed with excitement and curiosity as the king stepped forward, his demeanor calm but resolute. With a quiet confidence, the king began to address the animals. He extended his hands, inviting their voices. But an unsettling silence fell over the courtyard. The animals, typically lively and responsive, were eerily quiet. The crowd's whispers grew louder. The king's expression shifted to one of concern, his repeated attempts to communicate met with no response. Ago's grin widened, and he stepped forward triumphantly. Behold, the fraud revealed, he declared. Just as despair began to shadow the king's face, a faint chopping sound caught his ear. From the ground, a small, unassuming grasshopper spoke in a voice so soft that none but the king could hear. Your Majesty, it whispered, the advisor has used a magical powder to silence the voices of your friends. The powder was sprinkled on their cages before the challenge began. The king's gaze sharpened as understanding dawned upon him. Straightening his posture, he raised his hand to silence the murmurs of the crowd. "My people," he began, his voice steady, "a grave injustice has been committed here today. The silence of these animals is not a failure of my gift, but the result of treachery." He turned to Ago, his eyes unwavering. "Speak, advisor. Deny this if you dare." Caught off guard, Ago stammered, but his guilt was evident. The crowd gasped, their trust in the king deepened by his revelation of truth. As the king's revelation rippled through the crowd, an elder from the village stepped forward, leaning heavily on his staff. His voice trembled but carried an air of authority. "Your Majesty," he said, "there is more to this story than you know. Your gift is not just a blessing, it is a legacy." The king listened intently as the elder recounted a forgotten tale. Centuries ago, the ancestors of the royal family had forged a bond with the animal kingdom, a pact to ensure harmony between all living beings. The ability to communicate with animals was granted to the rulers as a sign of this sacred alliance. However, the pact came with a warning: should any ruler misuse the gift or allow the bond to weaken, the kingdom would face dire consequences. This revelation weighed heavily on the king's heart. He vowed to honor the pact and ensure that the bond between humans and animals remained strong. Yet, the elder's story also hinted at something more, a secret hidden deep within the kingdom that could strengthen the bond even further. Determined to uncover the truth, the king embarked on a journey to find the hidden sanctuary mentioned in the elder's tale. Accompanied by a trusted group of advisors and a few animals who had regained their voices, the king ventured into the heart of the forest. The journey was fraught with challenges, treacherous terrain, fierce storms, and encounters with wild creatures who tested their resolve. One night, as the group rested beneath the stars, a wise old owl appeared before the king. "You seek the sanctuary," the owl hooted. "But be warned, young ruler, the path ahead is not just a test of strength, but of character." The king, intrigued, stepped forward. "Wise one, what lies ahead that requires more than strength?" The owl blinked slowly. "Betrayal, temptation, and truth. Will you still proceed?" "I must," the king replied, determination gleaming in his eyes. The owl nodded and guided them to a mysterious grove where ancient symbols were etched into the trees. As they studied the symbols, "Wise one, what lies ahead that requires more than strength?" The owl blinked slowly. "Betrayal, temptation, and truth. Will you still proceed?" "I must," the king replied, determination gleaming in his eyes. The owl nodded and guided them to a mysterious grove where ancient symbols were etched into the trees. As they studied the symbols, an eerie whisper filled the air. Only the pure of heart shall pass. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, and the symbols glowed with an ethereal light. The king and his companions braced themselves as the forest seemed to shift around them. Upon reaching the sanctuary, the king and his companions faced a series of trials designed to test their courage, wisdom, and compassion. The first trial was a vast labyrinth where the cries of distressed animals echoed all around. The king fought the urge to run towards the nearest sound, knowing the maze was designed to deceive. "We must listen carefully," the king said. "The true path will reveal itself." One of the animals, a fox named Juro, twitched his ears. The cries, they are layered. Some are illusions, others are real. By trusting his animal companions, the king navigated the labyrinth and found the true source of the cries, a young deer trapped in vines. Freeing it, the vines receded, revealing the exit of the maze. In the next trial, the king was confronted by illusions of his greatest fears, the destruction of his kingdom and the loss of his bond with the animals. Shadows of fallen warriors and flames engulfed the vision of Benin. "Your weakness will doom them," a spectral voice whispered. The king clenched his fist. "No, my strength lies in my people and the balance we share with the land." With sheer determination and the support of his companions, the illusion shattered, proving his unwavering commitment. Just as the king thought they had triumphed, a shadow moved among his ranks. Ago, his once loyal advisor, stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "My king," he said, voice laced with an edge, "what if the sanctuary's power were ours alone? Think of what we could achieve if we did not have to share it with the animals." The king's eyes darkened. "You misunderstand, Ago. The sanctuary exists to preserve harmony, not dominion." Ago's lips curled. "Then you are a fool." Before anyone could react, he lunged at the king. But the animals, sensing the betrayer, sprang into action. Juro the fox tripped Ago, while a hawk dove, snatching the dagger from his grasp. The king sighed. "Ago, you allowed greed to poison your heart. I hoped you would see reason." Two guards restrained the treacherous advisor. The king turned away, sorrow in his gaze. We moved forward. At the heart of the sanctuary, the king encountered a majestic lion with a golden mane that shimmered like the sun. The lion, the guardian of the pact, spoke with a voice that resonated through the grove. "Young king," it said, "you have proven yourself worthy. The bond between humans and animals is sacred, and you have shown the wisdom and compassion needed to uphold it." The lion revealed a hidden artifact, an ancient staff adorned with carvings of animals and nature. "This staff is a symbol of the pact," the lion explained. "With it, you can strengthen the connection between your kingdom and the animal world. But remember, its power must only be used for the greater good." The king accepted the staff, feeling its warmth flow through him. With the sanctuary's blessing, the king returned to Benin, his bond with the animals stronger than ever. He used the staff's power to create sanctuaries where animals and humans could coexist peacefully. Ago, seeing the king's unyielding commitment to harmony, repented. "I was blinded by ambition, my king. Let me spend my life protecting what I sought to destroy." The king studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Redemption is earned through action, Ago." Under the king's leadership, the kingdom of Benin thrived in ways that surpassed all expectations. The sanctuaries became places of learning and wonder, where people from all walks of life came to understand the importance of balance and coexistence. The king's gift, once a source of envy and doubt, became a beacon of hope and unity. The tale of the king who could speak to animals became a cherished story, passed from generation to generation. It reminded the people of Benin that kindness, wisdom, and humility are the greatest gifts a leader can possess. The king's legacy endured not only in the prosperity of his kingdom but in the hearts of his people, who learned to value harmony and understanding above all else. Moral of the story. The story of the king who could speak to animals teaches us that true leadership lies in the wisdom to use one's gift for the greater good. It highlights the importance of forgiveness, showing that mercy can transform even the most envious hearts. Beyond mere abilities, leadership requires patience, vision, and a commitment to justice. The king demonstrated that wisdom is not in flaunting one's strengths but in using them to serve others. In sparing his advisor and choosing a path of compassion, he illustrated that kindness can mend even the deepest wounds and turn rivals into allies. His decision to forgive rather than punish reminds us that healing and growth arise when we choose understanding over vengeance. Additionally, the tale emphasizes the significance of harmony and unity. The king's relationship with the animals symbolizes the interconnectedness of all living beings. Prosperity is only sustainable when individuals work together, respecting the balance of nature and the needs of one another. True strength is found not in isolation, but in fostering cooperation and trust. Thank you for watching. Support our channel by liking, commenting your thoughts on this video, subscribing and turning on post notifications.
I used to spend dozens of hours every single week proofreading. I was constantly fixing run-on sentences, unclear syntax, and repetitive language by hand until I found Grammarly. Grammarly is the AI writing partner that helps professionals write better, faster. Maybe it's a list of creative ways to decorate your planner, or maybe it's an email delicately explaining to a